Hello and welcome to this course module on strategic planning and culture in high-tech firms. The material in this video lecture goes hand in hand with the material in chapters 2 and 3 of our book, Marketing of High Technology Products and Innovations. First, we will discuss how strategic planning is different in high-tech firms from other firms. Then we will look at the role of organizational culture in executing strategy in high-tech firms. Almost every high-tech business would like to build an internal culture of innovation. We will discuss the facilitators and obstacles to building such a culture of innovation within high-tech firms. Let's begin by looking at a generic framework for strategic planning that is used by many firms, whether high-tech or not. We start at the top left with an internal analysis where the business takes stock of its resources and competencies and decides which ones to invest in that can give it a competitive advantage in the marketplace. These competencies, often called core competencies, should result in meaningful benefits to customers, and they should be unique, long-term, and not easily copied by competitors. Pixar Studios, for instance, has leveraged its competence in the production of animated cartoon films for several decades. The internal analysis is followed by an external analysis where a business tries to identify the best customers, assess their needs, and design offerings that meet those needs. With the opportunity correctly identified, the business has to decide how aggressively should it pursue that opportunity and what kind of strategic posture should it adopt in the marketplace. Product leaders, also known as prospectors or pioneers, are risk takers who want to be the first in establishing a new product category. Google is often cited as an example of a product leader. Fast followers or analyzers wait briefly to see the experience of the product leader before jumping into the market with their own offering. Microsoft is often cited as an example of a fast follower. Differentiated defenders invest a lot in getting to know existing customers and in building those relationships. Amazon demonstrates well how to differentiate a business based on a customer intimacy strategy. Operationally excellent companies are great at execution at a low cost. Examples include Southwest Airlines and Dell in the United States or Ryan in Europe. With the right strategic posture selected, the business has to put an organization and process in place to implement the strategy. People have to be hired and assigned roles and responsibilities. Structure and process should enable collection of market intelligence and efficient decision making in response to that intelligence. Once the strategy is implemented, the business starts getting results from the marketplace. A marketing dashboard is the collection of metrics that indicate how well the product is doing and may include unit sales or revenue, market share, gross margin, and so on. This strategic planning cycle is iterative and may need to be fine-tuned from one time period to another. Typically, in most firms, the marketing strategic planning cycle begins 1 year prior to implementation and performance is reviewed quarterly after implementation. How does strategic planning process differ for high-tech firms given our discussion of the generic process on the previous slide? The differences are along these 4 dimensions: development of competencies, selection of customers, adoption of particular strategic postures, and the nature of the planning process itself. Let's take a look at each of these dimensions next. Businesses develop competencies in two ways: competence exploitation and competence exploration. In competence exploitation, a business refines its existing skills and resources, learns to do things better so it can lower costs and capture higher margins for itself. This is useful for incremental innovation. In competence exploration, a business invests in acquiring new knowledge and skills. Then it can apply this knowledge to creating new sources of value for customers and for itself. This is useful for radical innovation. Companies that are able to do both reap greater rewards, like Apple, Samsung, and Google. Apple used to be a personal computer company, but since 2001, it has learned new competencies for manufacturing and marketing smaller devices for digital music, mobile telephony, and mobile web browsing. Samsung historically had phenomenal competencies in manufacturing hardware. More recently, it has made huge investments in learning about software, content, and services. Google's foray into wearable devices and autonomous cars have required it to explore new competencies beyond web search and online advertising. I would submit to you that high-tech firms need to do more competence exploration relative to exploitation compared to non-high-tech businesses. They need to be scanning the environment for relevant new competencies and acquire new employees or retrain existing employees in these new areas. For incremental innovations, focusing on current customers is fine. However, for radical innovations, businesses have to find new customers and segments. This is because current customers often push back on radical innovations which involve significant switching costs. New customers and segments may be more open to embracing radical innovations since they have no history with these products. Current customers and segments get saturated, and further growth potential comes from new customers and segments. Although Facebook and Yahoo started on the PC desktop browser, they are now aggressively pursuing mobile users because future growth is going to come not from desktop users but from younger users with inexpensive smartphones. Many high-tech firms pursue blue ocean or unserved markets. Two-thirds of the Earth's surface is covered by blue ocean, yet all of the human development is occurring on land which occupies just one-third of the Earth's surface, and this land is being devastated by overuse. Could human beings do better by living on the ocean? In similar spirit, companies that go into underserved emerging markets or base of the pyramid markets are reaping rewards due to lesser competition. While many large US and European companies have already established themselves in Asia and South America, Africa is still a relatively unserved market. Of the four strategy types discussed earlier, high-tech companies are more often product leaders or fast followers. Here are the pros and cons of being a product leader or a pioneer. Empirical research shows that fast followers generally do better than pioneers in terms of failure rates and market shares. Then why do we see pioneering companies like Apple and Google take on higher risks? Because of profit. There is no limit to the upside profit potential of a successful pioneering radical innovation. Take a look at this cartoon. What motivates a high-tech company to be a product leader? Despite the high risks of being a product leader, companies and their scientists and engineers in particular find it very exciting to be on the leading edge of innovation. What's the benefit of being a fast follower? It is less risky to be a follower than a pioneer. Followers learn from the mistakes of the pioneer. There are two kinds of planning processes within organizations: formal and emergent. Both types of planning are used by high-tech companies. Formal planning is better suited for incremental innovation when uncertainty around the product is low. Emergent planning is better suited for radical innovation when uncertainty around the product is high. Here's an example of emergent planning from the early days of eBay. You may know that eBay started as a collector's website for rare items like coins, stamps, and toy cars. A handful of top managers, including the CEO, met every Monday to review the previous week's operations. During one Monday meeting, the category manager for the toy cars category reported that someone had accidentally posted a used car for sale on the toy cars website. They all had a good laugh, thinking the user didn't know what she or he was doing. Next week, there were 16 real cars posted. The following week, 48. By week 3, eBay decided to launch a new web page for real cars, and this category became a huge success. Nowadays, real cars contribute 25 to 30% of eBay's annual revenues. The eBay cars example illustrates that emergent planning happens in real time, involves improvisation, involves actions that imply a sense and respond function. As opposed to the real-time nature of emergent planning, formal planning happens in time frames exceeding 1 year, and plans are reviewed every quarter. What is organizational culture? It is the set of beliefs, values, and norms that guide behavior in organizations. Strategy and culture must go hand in hand in order to result in successful business performance. For example, the strategy of an operationally excellent low-cost airline like Ryanair or Southwest requires a culture obsessed with process improvement and efficiency, while the strategy of a product leader like Google requires a culture emphasizing breakthrough ideas and risk-taking. Most high-tech firms want to bring out radical innovations once every few years. Hence, they try to build an internal culture of innovation that supports this strategy. Let us now delve a little deeper into the facilitators and obstacles to building a culture of innovation. Top management has to see innovation as a priority for the organization and send the right signals. Some companies set stringent financial objectives for innovation. For example, Hewlett Packard has a corporate guideline that 30% of annual revenue must come from new products launched within the past 3 years. Top management must encourage risk taking by managers and tolerate failure should that occur. High-tech companies must be willing to create new businesses that might destroy existing businesses or cannibalize sales of existing products. Note that Apple was fully aware that its iPhone launch in June 2007 could cannibalize sales of iPod, yet this did not deter the company from launching the iPhone. Top management must encourage people to engage in risky projects by providing monetary and non-monetary forms of compensation. For example, Google allows its engineers to work 20% of their time on products and projects that they are not accountable for to their supervisors. And IBM and Samsung recognize and reward employees who file and obtain patents for their discoveries. High-tech firms have to explore and learn new competencies. This also means unlearning some sacred cows. The setbacks to Nokia and BlackBerry may be explained in part to their unwillingness to accept that the market had moved on and more consumers preferred the touchscreen of an iPhone to a physical keyboard of their own existing smartphones. Part of the learning must involve learning in real time from the marketplace by launching products early, even if they are not bug-free. Future versions of the product can be improved with feedback from actual users. This is trial and error or expeditionary marketing. Corporate imagination is about making all employees more creative by providing relevant training so that anybody can come up with the big ideas. Organizational culture should support and encourage product champions, individuals who are passionate about their ideas and can bring new products to market despite internal opposition and bureaucracy. Skunkworks are secret projects going on with the consent of top management, but known only to those employees engaged in the project. This insulates the project from oversight, opposition, and bureaucracy. The IBM PC team in 1980 worked in secrecy in Boca Raton, Florida, far away from IBM's Armonk, New York headquarters, because the fear was that the entrenched mainframe and mini-computer businesses might try to oppose and kill the PC project. Now, what are the obstacles to a culture of innovation? Core rigidities are the sacred cows that a firm has difficulty giving up. Lots of companies and executives have this problem. For example, Apple was late in bringing out a tablet smaller than the 10-inch iPad because Steve Jobs was opposed to it. It was preempted in this market by Samsung, and later Apple came out with the smaller iPad mini, which turned out to be quite a success. The downturn in a normal business cycle can be an obstacle to innovation because most companies cut back on research and development expenditures during a downturn. The effect of a company's size on innovation is not entirely clear, hence the question mark. Larger companies generally have larger budgets to spend on innovation. On the other hand, larger companies have more hierarchy and bureaucracy, which delay decisions, and this can negatively impact a culture of innovation. Next, we turn to the final problem in building a culture of innovation, the innovator's dilemma. Incumbents are existing firms in the industry. Incumbents' customers want improvements in performance or functionality over time, as indicated by the red line. Incumbents, however, keep improving performance or functionality much faster than customer requirements, as indicated by the top black line, due to the need for competitive differentiation. You can see the gap between customer requirements and incumbent supply growing over time, which means the customer is forced to pay for higher performance even when they don't need it. This gap creates an opportunity for a new firm to enter the industry, usually with an inferior product. Since the new entrant's product is inferior, look at the lower black line, incumbents tend to ignore this threat. However, the new entrant improves performance over time until it is able to cross the red line. After this crossover point, the new entrant's product is a disruptive threat to the incumbent's product because it meets customer requirements and costs less than the incumbent product because it has less functionality. This is an often repeated phenomenon in high-tech industries. For example, digital imaging disrupted chemical and analog photography, and mobile phones disrupted fixed-line phones. Incumbent firms know this phenomenon well. Their dilemma, which is an obstacle to innovation, is not knowing how much to invest in the new disruptive technology and when to transition from the incumbent technology to the new technology in order to prevent being disrupted. To summarize, in this video, we have looked at how strategic planning and organizational culture in high-tech firms is different from other firms. High-tech firms explore new competencies in addition to exploiting existing competencies. They focus on future customers in addition to current customers. And they follow emergent planning processes in addition to formal planning processes. High-tech firms are more often product leaders or fast followers. Strategies for being a product pioneer or a fast follower must be supported by a culture of innovation in order to produce good business performance. We delved specifically into the facilitators and obstacles to a culture of innovation. Hopefully, you can now apply some of these concepts and better understand the strategy and culture of the organizations that you are familiar with. Thank you.